the whole concept of posture, is really our ability to understand how posture affects function has blossomed. We used to really conceive the spine as you look at somebody from the front, because that's the way we face people. So you look at an X-ray and you kind of pay a lot of attention to what we call the coronal or the frontal view, and the spine should be straight. When people have studied the effects of posture on function, what we found was that it's actually the sagittal, the side view, that affects how people's quality of life is affected by their posture. And it really is driven from the ground up and from the top down. It's kind of the same. On some level, in order to function, in order for people to do what they want to do, you have to be able to see forward, right? You have to have a horizontal gaze, right? And you have to be able to hold your hands in space to manipulate tools. And if you can't do those two things, then you're really very, very disabled. So the overall goal, the first goal of posture is to get your head above your pelvis, right? You need to stand up straight so that when you stand up, your head is kind of right above your sacrum. And all of spinal alignment is driven by that goal. And when you talk to people who can't stand that way for whatever reason, they have a fixed spine problem that inhibits them from standing up straight, they'll tell you that their ability to function is completely impaired. And when you study it, it's amazing how impaired it is. So you take someone who stands 5 centimeters forward of their sacrum and can't get any, that's as best as they can do, right? They will function if you take some kind of generalized quality of life measurement, some kind of test that you give people in general in the journal and say, how are you doing? Someone who has that kind of spinal alignment functions like someone with an amputation, functions like someone with decompensated pulmonary disease, like decompensated diabetes. So, I mean, it's incredibly debilitating. If you have someone who stands more than 10 centimeters forward of their sacrum, so they lean forward, there is no medical condition that is as debilitating as that in terms of day-to-day physical function. It's an incredible function. And so what you find when you study this is that the whole thing starts in the way you want your head above your pelvis, but how do you get there, right? You get there by balancing the curves of your spine. So we all have, our spine is made such that our cervical spine has a curve to the front, so we keep our head up. Our thoracic spine has a curve to the back, which deepens the chest cavity. So it increases our pulmonary capacity by making the bellows of our lungs deeper front to back. And then in order to compensate for the thoracic kyphosis, the backward bending, you have to have a forward bend in your low back. And the question is how do those things balance out? And the interesting thing is it all starts from your pelvis. So the pelvis is the bottom of your spine. Your sacrum is part of your pelvic ring, is the bottom of your spine. It's where your spine and your hips attach. And again, so the goal is to get your head above or slightly behind your hip joint. Because when a normal person stands, everything balances out so that it's very energy efficient, right? When the normal person stands, it takes about 50 calories an hour to stand in place. I mean, people say, well, I stand all day. I don't need to diet because I'm up on my feet all day. I'm burning all these calories. But you're not, right? Just because stance is so efficient that you don't really burn very many calories when you stand. Because once you get behind your hips and your body and your weight kind of falls behind your hip capsules, the joints of your hip, the capsules actually just tighten up. So there's no muscular force involved in keeping that position. But once you're in front of your hip, now all your muscles in the back of your thigh, in the back of your gluteal muscles, in your buttocks, in your back, have to now pull you backwards to keep you from collapsing forward. So now these muscles are firing continuously, and it becomes very, very energy intensive just to stay on your feet.